Yeah, you read the title. Takopi's Original Sin is Anime of the Year, and it's only August. With the show's final episode of last week, I'm willing to call it now, since I don't really see anything topping it anytime soon, this season or next. It's not every day an anime comes along that blindsides you harder than you expected, and this is one of those series, as I truly believe that this will be an anime that goes down as an all-time classic, and what the anime of 2025 will be most remembered for. Which is why you should join. No, I'm not doing that this time. Guys, before I go any further, I would like to mention that this anime and video will be going over some very dark themes, which is exactly why each episode begins with a content advisory warning. I will also be covering the show in its entirety too, so there will be spoilers, and I truly want you to watch Takopi's Original Sin before watching this video. It's only 6 episodes after all. This video really isn't going to be like my normal anime reviews, but I still wanted to share my thoughts and explain why I believe that this deserves all the acclaim and attention it's received. And yeah, it's a dark story where we see 3 children that deal with bullying, abuse, feelings of inadequacy, and amongst them an octopus alien whose only goal is to make them happy. For one, before I go too into it, I want to praise the marketing of this series. I was completely blindsided by the events of episode 1 like many of us were. Whenever I make my ultimate guides, I don't go too into detail because I don't want to know that much about the series that I cover. I want to experience an anime for the first time like most people do, as it's presented and without too much prior knowledge. And with the trailers released, did any of us, and be honest, did any of us see the events of just the first episode coming? I think I started to feel unnerved the most when Takopi took out the string meant to connect Shizuka and Marina. In the back of my mind, I kept thinking, it's not going to go there, is it? And it did. Which is perhaps the best way this series hits where it needs to. The abuse and trauma inflicted is shown. It's not implied, it's not skirted over or joked about. It's presented in the most direct way possible. When we first meet Shizuka, we can already infer some of her life just from her appearance alone. She doesn't even look like the rest of the kids. Malnourished, unclean, without friends. But I think we can also infer a lot about Marina too from her introduction. She's not just a common bully, she genuinely hates Shizuka for reasons unknown at first, but you get the feeling that there's more to it than that. For whatever reason, she wants to go out of her way to make it clear how much she despises Shizuka to the point where she just wants her dead. Escalated all the way until she gets Choppy sent away just to make her suffer. Because, to Marina, she shouldn't be the only one suffering. Takopi isn't just an observer of all this. His goal has always been to make others happy. His own world has no strife, no suffering, but through Shizuka and Marina, he learns so much about Earth and how the things that they go through aren't just something he can read about in advance. Shizuka and Marina's lives are the way they are because of forces completely out of their control. Marina's parents are going through a divorce. Her father only thinks of her when she brings up wanting to live with him, and her mother takes out all of her frustrations and anger on her. This is because of her father having an affair with Shizuka's mother, who has completely neglected raising her own daughter, abandoning her completely. Meanwhile, Shizuka's own father has removed her from his life. To Marina's perspective, everything in her life is out of control except her interactions with Shizuka, who becomes the target of all of her hatred. But in reality, Marina isn't necessarily hateful, she's alone. As we follow the majority of the story, Takopi isn't with her, he's trying to improve Shizuka's life, and Shizuka still has Choppy. Only when he's out of the picture can Shizuka understand the loneliness that Marina has been feeling. And when we get to the plot twist of Marina being the original one to meet Takopi 6 years later, despite his intentions to make her smile, it all ends in tragedy. He understood humans even less, and didn't use the camera to try to reset the past with her like he did with Shizuka. Takopi's Original Sin is a story of growth for our happiness octopus alien. He learns he can't just fix everything with his gadgets. The wings have a weight limit, and we see what the rope, capsule, and camera end up being used for. Sometimes trying to help others with what you think is best isn't the right solution. You need to listen and learn someone else's perspective on what they're going through, and only then can you actually try to help. The series' third character, Azuma, has been suffering too, as he's constantly compared to his older brother who's perfect in the eyes of his mother. But Azuma's a kid, he's not a child prodigy like Junya. He has desires and wishes like any other kid, and his constant need to be validated in the eyes of his mother has led him to avoid his brother and others in his school, which brings him close to Shizuka when she falls down her path to destruction. He falls for her hard as she reminds him of his mother, the person he wants validation from the most, and it's only through interacting with his brother and learning that he is truly a wonderful person who cares about him genuinely can he break out of this and realize his self-worth. Not gonna lie, I cracked up when his brother mentioned that their mom's pancakes aren't even good. The one treasure Azuma's been so close to, yet so out of reach, isn't even worth worrying about. And so much of Azuma's realizations came about on his own. He didn't have Takopi with him all the time like Shizuka or Marina did. He needed to talk his problems out with someone who loved him and someone who was willing to listen, which leads me back to Takopi. In the end of this series, it's brutally ironic how close Takopi was to the actual answer to Shizuka and Marina's problems. No, he shouldn't have tried to kill Shizuka like he originally went back to Earth to do so. Thank goodness he lost his memories then. But perhaps the rope was the solution. All Shizuka and Marina needed to do was just meet on equal ground and talk things through. Without Azuma, of course. Nothing against him, but as we saw, it really would go well for both of these girls if he wasn't part of their lives. And through a simple argument with his brother and standing up for himself, he managed to break out of his shell and get what he desired most in life. Friends. Other people to recognize him for who he is. As for Shizuka and Marina, they're going to have struggles. They're going to likely keep fighting. But as awful, and I mean awful, as their parents are, they're in the same boat. Through their years together, Shizuka and Marina become best friends, which came at the expense of Takopi. Shizuka is still going to have to deal with her neglectful parents who have abandoned her, and Marina will have to deal with her abusive mother as evident by her scar at the end. But with each other, they won't be lonely. They won't be suffering without someone else who understands. And I think that's the most important takeaway here. Takopi wanted nothing more but to make Shizuka and Marina happy, and only through leaving them to each other could he do so. There's no happy octopus aliens, no gadgets, no resetting in real life, and Takopi couldn't change their past, nor the way their parents are. However, Shizuka and Marina are always going to have the strongest best friend you could ever ask for. What makes Takopi's original sin hit so hard is that it's presented with brutal realism. I'm going to bring up what I mentioned when I talked about episode 7 of Dandadan, and how the reason it works so well is that you just know a story like this has happened, will happen, and is likely happening right now. Minus the octopus alien, but there are countless children out there who are being bullied, abused, and given unrealistic expectations. And I really don't want to make this about myself, but I brought up in my last video how I used to work as a summer camp counselor when I was a teenager, and something I realized working there was you could always tell when there were parents who never wanted to become one. They would lash out at me and my coworkers, but what we all wondered was how things were when they got back home. Shows like this hit so hard for me because I picture some of the kids who came to camp when it was clear that would be the most fun they'd have all year. Yes, Shizuka and Marina are still going to have horrible parents, but Takopi's goal was met, even without him being a part of it. And not only am I calling this anime of the year in regards to its quality, but also because it feels like it's the one anime we need the most right now. Not to bring up too much that I'm sure you're all tired of hearing about now, but it feels like every day in 2025 we wake up to the dumbest, most aggravating headlines around the world, and it's been years of this garbage. It's hard to smile, it's hard to find things to be hopeful about. But that's where Takopi's original sin as a story is needed. Through all the hardship, all the suffering, and when things look the darkest that they've ever been and that we'll ever know, only then can the lights shine their brightest. I don't think I'll ever call Takopi's original sin my favorite anime because it's a lot. It's something that feels difficult to recommend, not just because of its content, but because it's such an unusual series. This is Studio Inishia's first major production. The manga author, Tyson 5, is a newer author too, and it's only 6 episodes long. I watched the majority of it in one sitting myself, and I'm likely going to watch it a second time too before the end of the year. Plus, I'm honestly debating on whether or not including it in my summer tier list or year-end ranking because I don't know if it really deserves to be in videos like that. It truly feels like it's in its own category. This isn't an anime you could just put on and watch for enjoyment like any other. This is one where you want to be like Takopi, watching and learning about the children's struggles and hoping that one day they find a way to smile brighter than they ever have. Whether I rank it later on or not, regardless, I do think this is one of those anime that deserves to be watched by everyone. Even with the content of this series, it's one of those shows that needs the attention and discussion it's already earned. And while many of us may not have experienced anything like Shizuka, Marina, or Azuma, there's so many who have. And if you're watching this video and you truly need help, there is help for you, for so many of you. Even without the gadgets and rewinding time, it's not too late to just reach out to someone and have that conversation that you may need to have. I want all of you to smile. I want all of you to be happy.